I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Council of the Village of Chase, held in the council chamber at the village office and via Zoom today, October 8th, 2024 at 4 p.m. I need a motion to adopt the agenda as amended. Apparently Councillor Stevens has requested to take 8.1 off today's agenda. So need a motion to adopt the agenda as amended. Councillor Herman, seconded by Councillor Connett. All in favor? That's carried. I need a motion to adopt the minutes of the previous meeting. Councillor Corbon, Councillor Herman. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Public hearings, there are none. Public input on current agenda items. This opportunities for members of the gallery to provide input on items on this agenda. So we have, if I'm correct, we have 15 minutes for this. And if you put your hand up, we'll see how many people wish to speak on items that are on the agenda, and we'll divide the time up accordingly. So who would like to speak? Okay. We have one on Zoom. Is there anybody else who wants to speak on anything on the agenda? I see one person. So Anne, go ahead. Just your name and address and unmute. Oh.
Anne Grube, 5848 VLA Road, Chase. And it's regarding item 9.1. I had a question, and it was like, I'm not sure if it's only input or can I ask a question? Anyway, because that's to do, it's considered an unsightly lot, but I understand it's been remedied because I actually saw somebody working on it. But one of the other issues that I'm wondering whether the tires were considered in the unsightly part of it, because they are more of a quite possibly to do with health issues, both for salmon in particular and for people. There's more and more research recently about the toxins from tires. And so my question was, because it is just up stream from the water intake for Chase and just outside the surface water protection area, but right adjacent to it, I wondered whether any consideration was being given to the effect that those tires or the disintegration and the particles, their nanoparticles, have on the water system. And so we're concerned with the unsightliness, what we can see, but maybe we should be even more concerned about what we can't see coming from that property.
So through to the CAO, what's the proper procedure when we get a question? Is it better to get the question in writing and send to staff? Have the staff, or what?
Mr. Mayor, yeah, that would be the best approach. However, we haven't, I think this is likely a relatively easy question to answer. Corporate officer has been dealing with this issue, so.
Sure.
You're okay to do that?
Yeah, thank you, CAO. Mr. Mayor, members of council. So typically the public input session allows for input to council on unfinished business and new business, but we're going to make an exception. I'll answer Mr.'s question about the tires at 950 Issip. So I'll draw your attention to page 18 of the agenda, the order to comply. The order to comply specifically refers to unsightly growths above 30 centimeters. This only has to do with vegetative growth. There's no other matters under this order to comply or the demand notice.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. But I guess at another point, then we can bring up the issue that maybe we should be considering the other problems with the property. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anybody else from the public? Okay, seeing none. That's public input, no delegations, reports. Mayor's report, I participated in the Razor Reader event put on Chase Literacy. Attended and spoke at the unveiling of the Chiquetin landmark at the waterfall. The upgraded access looks great. Quite a few people, handicapped people, were able to get there. I attended the council workshop, attended a regular TNRD meeting. Before that meeting, we discussed the future of the watershed, the senior staff, the Shuswap watershed. October 4th, I attended the committee of the whole meeting, and there was a Fire Smart presentation. And apparently the first year, as the TNRD started last year, was mainly planning and administrative, and this year they're gonna have monies to actually do stuff. Apparently insurance will play a big part in the wildfire, and Fire Smart works with BC Wildfire. We also had a session on asset management. It seems to be the latest buzzword lately. So Chris Payne spent an hour explaining this and how it relates to the TNRD and a TNRD boundaries. A committee has been struck to review the boundaries, and October 3rd I attended the Recreation Society AGM, and that's it. Councillor Connor.
Council meeting and walked through the water plant. We had a lady down there and went to a meeting at the hall and in-camera meeting, environmental meeting, and that is her.
Thank you, Councillor Herman.
Just one sec. September 25th, I as well volunteered with the Razor Reader campaign at Pocket Park downtown. It was a huge success as usual. Approximately $2,000 was collected. And I just wanted to say thank you to Chase for continued support of the Razor Reader event each September. That's an early morning start. And we were lucky enough to have the Chase Heat in their full uniform going around town, and they were competing, as hockey players do, for sales. So a lot of money was raised selling the flyers. And thanks to Barb and her great group of volunteers for getting up early. Many great things are done in Chase by this Razor Reader group. September 30th, I attended the Truth and Reconciliation activities sponsored by the three bands at Adams Lake, at the Adams Lake Band. Began with the water ceremony at the Adams Lake Band Fish Station, and after participants walked to the Recreation Convention Center to share friendship and food. There were many fun activities for the children and the adults as well. I felt honored to be included and enjoyed all the visiting. October 1st, I attended the TNRD meeting for the outlying districts and met Councillor Connett there, and there were a few other people, all from Chase, but nobody from area LP. October 2nd, I attended a special meeting here at the Village Council. October 3rd, I attended the Rec Society AGM. October 7th, yesterday, yesterday attended the Chase Climate Action Committee meeting, and today I met with Brock and Dean regarding the Together Chase fall meeting schedule and projects.
Thank you. Who's Councillor Stevens here yet? Do we know? No? Is that a no?
No.
Okay, Councillor Torban.
September 24th, regular council meeting, October 2nd, special council meeting. October 3rd, attend the AGM for the Rec Society. And then reviewed agenda, monitor emails, take inquiries, and consult staff as required.
Okay, thank you very much. And I had a few questions for staff. So if I could start with the Director of Corporate Operations. When I look at your report, you're saying monthly meetings with Modi, discussed fence, lighting, and wayfinding. The lighting, what, can you please explain through the CAO, what the discussion on lighting was, please?
Sure, that's the Brook Drive lighting, so those ornamental lamp standards have been installed for about 18 months. But so recently, they've been connected up with the engineer that's works for CIF. And they're ready to be energized. And the ticket has been submitted to BC Hydro. So we're just waiting for BC Hydro to come out and energize those lights. Brook Drive.
Okay. Thank you, and what did I have? I had a couple other questions. Cemetery bylaw update meeting with staff and consultant. Do you have anything more you could elaborate on that, please?
We're still at the information gathering stage of the bylaw, so reviewing the existing bylaw, looking at our policies, importing or adding sort of current bylaw, cemetery bylaw challenges and real experiences. So we're compiling sort of all the information that from that point we'll start to put the new bylaw together. So we haven't actually started drafting the bylaw yet, we're still in the information gathering stage.
Thank you. And I think I had one other question, but that was to the manager of public works. So through the CAO to the manager of public works, you mentioned something about the boat launch, and then you wanna go with that one first, please?
For sure. So through the CAO, we've been working on a couple of different options for the Mill Park boat launch. Working with the consultant on those, and we'll be looking at bringing the presentation to council most likely in November with some different options and opportunities that we have with the Mill Park boat launch.
Okay, thank you. And how about an update on the paving project? I see a road ripped up today. Please.
Yes, so thank you, Mr. Mayor. So on Monday, today's Tuesday, so on Monday we began with the road maintenance program for both Brook Drive and Juniper. So those roads were reclaimed on Monday. Today they've been busy grading them out and packing them. Looking to begin paving on Juniper tomorrow afternoon and Brook Drive the following day. Reclamation work is going to begin on Shuswap Avenue. It was supposed to start this Thursday, which is the 10th of October. I believe that's going to be being pushed back a day to tomorrow, or pull forward, whatever you want to call it. So looking at probably doing the grinding on Shuswap starting tomorrow, with looking at paving Shuswap on Friday and Saturday of this week.
Okay, thanks. That's all the questions I had to staff. Were there anybody on council that has any questions? No? Okay, seeing that, I need a motion to receive for information. Councillor Herman, Councillor Conitt, all in favor? And that's carried. 8.1 was taken off. 8.2 grant and aid request. Who wants to handle that one? Councillor Conitt?
Those are glasses. Letter from the Recreation Center Society President, note to council, there is 600 remaining in council's 2024 budget, in aid budget. And looks like they're asking for it, so council's direction is requested.
Yeah, so you put your hand up.
Oh, well, I moved it to give him the 600 bucks.
Do we have a second?
And
Councillor Corbon, any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. 8.3 water meter repair replacement accelerated program. there's a report for the manager of public works, but I did ask the CFO through the CAO, can you please explain where $70,000 fits in with our budgeting? Did we budget that for this year, or how are we getting $70,000, please?
So, thank you, Mr. Mayor, through the council and Mayor. In the current year, we've continued to receive our, gas tax monies. And by the end of this year, this is not included in the 2024 budget. So the balance remaining at the end of 2024, not including the 70,000, we'd have 130,000 to allocate. So we have, it's like money in a reserve. As it came in this year, we haven't allocated it out yet. So this would be a budget amendment for the 2024 budget. If council approves it.
Mom!
Oh.
Hi.
Okay.
Somebody on Zoom.
Okay, we're going again. CAO?
If I could just add to that, if you don't mind.
No.
So what I'm hearing our CFO tell us is that we actually have an allocation of 130,000 plus 70,000, right? So 200,000, no, it's
It's
130,000.
130,000.
So $130,000 available to us in the gas tax funding for 2024.
That was in our 2024 budget.
Correct. Now, so we need a budget amendment, but it's only really a housekeeping item to approve so we have the money already. It's just to move it from the grant funded account to the water meter account. But a budget amendment won't mean any change in taxes or anything like that
When do we make the budget amendment?
before the end of the year.
So there's 130,000 sitting in our budget, and we just didn't allocate it to anything at this time. Okay, thank you. So there's a report from the manager of public works. I'll pass it through the CAO. Is there anything you wish to say?
I don't think there's too much more to add, other than the program's been working quite well. We've replaced 104 meters currently. We only have readings on the first 29 that were replaced before the previous quarter.
Exactly.
And we're currently in the process of doing this third quarter's readings. But they're obviously not included here right now. We've ran out of the new Mach 10 meters, the 100 that we had ordered. And so we're just looking to continue with the program by ordering another 100 of them. And there will be a follow-up report with actually kind of where the progress is on the meters, since I only have the data for the first 29 right now.
Okay, thank you. So there's a recommendation there. Councillor Herman?
I'll move that council authorize administration to purchase 100 Mach 10 water meters from Flow Systems at a cost of $70,000 excluding GST to be funded from the gas tax reserve.
Seconder, Councillor Torbon. Any discussion?
How many more $70,000 do we have to spend on these meters?
Okay, through the CAO.
How many more $70,000? So probably our public works manager will be able to answer that question.
Thank you, Your Worship. So when we initially began this program, we had 297 meters that we were working on. Currently, the meters that we're getting cost us about $610 per unit. So about $61,000 provides us 100 units. The $70,000 includes the installation for the contract plumber to do the work. So to repair the entire 297, that would be 3 sets of that $70,000 requisition. As we replace them, I believe within the report, you can see we replaced 29 of them in June. And during that period of time, 7 additional meters failed at that point in time. So We are anticipating between 20 and 30 meters per year that will be failing. So once we've completed this program and caught ourselves back up, we'll still be looking at a budget item of probably, say, roughly $40,000 or something like that every single year.
Every year it's gonna keep breaking batteries.
Correct.
And now that with the new ones that you're buying, it's a whole unit. You can't distinguish between the battery or the piece of brass. Then you have to hire a contractor to come in, a plumber to take them out.
So.
What a bloody waste of money.
So, any other questions from council? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? None, that's carried. 9.1, 950 Hyssop Road, unsightly property. Director of Corporate Operations, do you have anything more to comment on this one?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, actually I have a PowerPoint presentation.
Okay. And
The owner is not in the room and I didn't see a representative on Zoom. They had an opportunity to be heard at this meeting. So we'll just run through the PowerPoint. This is the property, the subject property is formerly part of the Sunshore Golf Course, and it was subdivided off. It's now owned by a numbered company, but they're also known as Shaughnessy Group. And what's occurring on this property is they're not maintaining the property to our bylaw standards, specifically the unsightly vegetative growth. So anytime, you can go to the next slide, Mike, anytime the property reaches one more, 30 centimeters or better, then they're contravening the bylaw. So for at least 5 years now, we've repeated this cycle where they let it go, we get a complaint, we do an inspection, we write letters, we make phone calls, we send emails, we may or may not get a response. Sometimes magically the property gets cleaned up without any notice, and this happens 3 or 4 times every year. Typically at the beginning of the growing season, 1 or 2 times in the middle of the growing season, and then once right about now, the end of September, early October. So I've just shown some pictures here. You can just go through them sort of slowly, Mike, but they're just all just representations of, yeah, they do some of it, but not all of it. And this is what was left recently along the edges. So council has these fundamental powers, that's why we have the bylaw, and then council can act on their bylaw, and they can run this process known as a demand letter or an order to comply process. And this allows council to set some terms, ask the owner to clean up the property, and if they fail to do so, then we can go in with cleanup crews, do the work, pay the contractor that does the work, but then put those fees or charges to clean up the property. We send them a bill first, and if they don't pay it, it goes on their taxes. So that just allows for some control over property maintenance that the owners are sometimes unwilling to do themselves. Next slide, Mike. So this is 950 Hyssop just this year, but this is every year. So in April, we got some complaints. And what complaints do is it causes consternation in the public and friction between the public and our office, right? They're mad at us because we're letting it happen. So when somebody lets their property go, we feel the heat, right? Then we have to send out the bylaw officer to do an inspection, take pictures, do a report, and then we get a hold of the owner. This all takes time. It consumes the bylaw officer's time. He's got to collect evidence, he's got to make recommendations to me. Consumes my time because I have to receive public complaints. I have to create files, review the inspections, communicate with the bylaw officer and the owner, review evidence, issue order to complies, write reports to council, answering back to the public as they like have follow-up. So when it gets to this point, this is why we bring it to council with recommendation to, take it to the next step, which basically takes the control of the property maintenance out of the owner's hands and puts it in our hands, and then we get it done. And it's actually going to save time because it's as easy as phoning a contractor that's capable of doing the work and say every time the grass gets above 30 centimeters, you go and cut it and send us the bill. There's no reports, inspections, evidence, phone calls, email, there's nothing. Next slide, please. That's it, okay. So, now on this particular property, it's been brought to my attention that they were sent the demand notice. So if you look on your agenda, page, let's see here, page
17 to 21.
Yeah, that's right. So they likely saw this agenda and they've remedied the last of the unsightliness, they cleaned. So there's actually a recommendation that's changed based on that. There's no need to proceed because they cleaned it up. There's nothing to do. But so my recommendation is changed. There is no recommendation anymore. This is just information sharing now, but council should know that we're going to start this again in the spring. And the thinking is they will come out of the gate in April with something like this, and then we'll have the opportunity to just look after it for 2025. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So through to the CAO to the corporate officer, so you are satisfied we don't need to do your previous recommendation at this time, or?
That's correct.
So we just receive for information is what?
That's good.
Okay. Somebody on council like to do something?
I'll just move that we receive for information.
Seconded by Councillor Herman. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. 9.2, 545 First Avenue unsightly property. So same thing again. So through the CAO to the deputy corporate officer.
Ms. Corporate Officer.
Corporate officer. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this property is 545 First Avenue, Chase, BC. It's another property that repeatedly comes under the purview of our property maintenance bylaw for unsightliness. And in July of this year, we sent them an order to comply. There was an accumulation of all kinds of things, but notably 40 or 50 tires, and then a lot of scrap metal. Some of it might show up in the pictures if we just scroll through here. Yeah, so unidentified rubbish. Yeah, there's the tires. So on July 23rd, they were issued an order to comply, and they didn't do anything. There was no attempt at cleaning up bringing the property into compliance. So we continued to receive complaints about this property. The bylaw officer was down there quite a bit. He talked to the family. There's 3 members of the family that live there. He talked to each and every one of them on multiple occasions. And we were left with issuing a demand notice on September 26th, which gives them 21 days before we take action with council's blessing, of course. So that's why we're here. Now, I've talked to one of the family members just before the meeting because they do have an opportunity to be heard by council and they're waiving their rights to be heard, but I'm passing on their intentions, which is the cleanup itself is too big for them to handle, and they'd like us to actually proceed with the recommendation, clean up the property, send them an invoice, and if unpaid, that it goes on their property taxes. So the recommendation is the same, that's right.
Okay. That's it for your report?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So there's a recommendation there.
Okay,
Councillor Corwin.
I'll move that council approve the issuance of a demand notice to the owner of 545 First Avenue, giving them 21 days to bring the property into compliance with property maintenance law.
Seconded, Councillor Herman. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. 9.3 deadlines for village annual grant and aid application. CFO, do you want to say anything about this?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, well, I'll just give you a quick overview. So this is just mainly a housekeeping item because we've noticed in the last couple of years that the grant and aid process it seemed too early to fit in with the budget, to line up with the budget process. So we're asking to change this policy just to what's written, so it lines up with our budget process.
Okay, so there's a recommendation, Councillor Herman.
I move that council's grant and aid policy ADM 31 be amended by changing the advertising period to the first 3 weeks of January in each year. The application deadline be set for February 28th in each year, and council's review and considerations of applications to take place during council's regular budget.
Seconder,
Also.
Councillor Torbon, any discussion? Councillor Conlon.
Yeah, hopefully when we're doing the review and that we could come up with that it's only stays in Chase. It's Chase taxpayers' money that's doing this. And that the grant and aid should stay in our community, not going other places.
Any other discussion? All in favor? That's carried. 10, notice of motion. Any councillors to make a notice of motion? Seeing none. 11, no in camera. 12, no release of in camera items. The motion to adjourn the meeting. Councillor Corbon. Councillor Conlon. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you to everyone who came. I had to do it one